Bon dia, good day to you all. Just wanted to give you a bit of a walk and talk, show you all where we're at and what we've been up to, and talk us through the next phases of our plan. Obviously you've seen that we got the container in. That was a big push, and I'll just turn you around and give you a walk and tour. Lunny, come, buy a stick. So obviously we was pushing for the container to get in. That was time sensitive, and so we needed to get our pads done, and we kind of neglected everything else in the process. The land's looking really clear. We've borrowed a wood chipper off of a friend, and we are managing to get rid of some of the huge piles of foliage around. Couple piles down here gone, big pile up there, we're sorting out one here. And so the place looks a bit chaotic at the minute. There's still a lot of trees on the floor from the last time we were dropping trees, because we just haven't had time to, well, we haven't been focusing on the tidy up of that. We've had the pad stones to do. So we got a 40-foot container, and we got it on these 3 sets of pads. The delivery went really well. I just want to talk about why we've done what we've done. We've stuck the doors this end, and so you can't get into it. We're going to put a door in over here, and this is the most northern side of our property, and there's wind that comes off of the mountains up in this corner, and so part of our plan to stick this in the air was to push that wind up and over. So this is our ground zero up here. This is where our barbecue area is going to be. It's going to be where our house is, our guest housing, our workshop. So there's going to be a lot of buildings up here. Mainly our barbecue area is going right here. And so any wind that comes flying off this north side will come tunneling straight through here. And so by lifting that up, it gives us more privacy, because this is a public road. A lot of people walk up here, a lot of people drive up here. And they're all very curious, as I would be, to see this landscape changing in front of your eyes. Somewhere you've walked past maybe every day of your life, and it's been a forest for the past 50-60 years plus, and now it's changing into something else. So I completely understand, but from our point, we would quite like to get it fenced, and we would like to plant trees. A big thing of getting it fenced up here means we can plant all the way along here, and we're really excited to be planting some trees opposed to cutting them down. Also, this little one, we're having to keep an eye on her at the minute, because she likes to go and say hello to everybody that walks past, and so as lovely as it is to have her out here, we're constantly having to keep her having to keep her close. And you know, it obviously slows down your day a lot when you just want to do stuff. So container up in the air, why did we do that? We're going to build a forgotten the word, a platform. We're going to build a platform, like a deck, floating deck off of here, timber frame, roundwood timber frame, and we're going to have the stairs come down from this back end so that we don't eat into this path. So let me just go face on. So there'll be a platform coming out here, and the stairs will come down from this back, and so that we don't eat into this, because this is going to be a walkway here between our entrance of the land down here. We're going to be coming in, the driveway is going to be here. There's going to be a big workshop here, and so there's going to be a lovely little path that leads up and connects the barbecue area to the workshop to the driveway. So this is going to be one of our businesses. And another reason we've stuck it up in the air is because it's very wet and very humid here, and if I stick it in the ground, I can't maintain the container over the life of it. By chucking it up in the air, I can get underneath everywhere along here, and I can make sure that the metal underneath, obviously we've got a lot of work to do to it. We've got to remove all of the existing paint, or everything that's flaking away, give it a good sand down. We're going to remove all of this, and we're going to re-primer it, repaint it and make it look very nice. We'd like somebody on the outside to come and do some graffiti, like passion fruit flowers. Look, she's spotted someone, and this is what we go through. Luni, aqui. Good girl. Onde está stick? Vai. Isso. So that's a little bit about the container. We've got storage space underneath. There's good airflow, which means the floor's going to stay better for longer. We're going to add a false roof over the top of here, like a gable, going all the way along. And then on this south side, we're going to add solar panels. And then on the back edge is just going to be like sheet metal, like what it's made out of. And so yeah, operation cleanup is in order. We have a lot of logs laying around the place. We have loads of stumps, loads of firewood piles, and loads of fence posts. Luni, come, key, stick a key. Isso. And so part of operation cleanup is going to be focusing on getting all of the logs and trees that are cut, there's loads down there, onto their designated home so that they're all stacked and out of the way. We have borrowed a wood chipper from a friend, which we currently have access to, and we are having to restack, and I knew this was going to happen. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, but you know, we were focused on something else at the time. So as we were cutting the trees, we were just piling the foliage up. We weren't quite sure what we was going to do with it at first, but we've decided to chip it all up, and so we're having to reorder it. For efficient use of the wood chipper while it's running and using fuel, we need all of the stick ends to be facing one way and all the foliage on the other side. You have to load the wood chipper with the thinnest end going in rather than like trying to stick a bush in it. And so we're having to reorganize and re-pull out all of our piles of foliage, trim them down, make them as skinny as we can, and pile them all in the right way. It's not too bad, and it just makes the efficiency of using the wood chipper better. But moving forward, I think as we cut the trees down, we're going to organize the foliage a little bit better and kind of do it while we go along. Obviously, you kind of maybe might cut a few less trees down in the day, but yeah, it saves you sorting it out in the longer run. So again, operation cleanup. We've got all of these trees through the middle here that we got to get down after that. This is because we want to start the fencing, and we do not want to stick a fence up while we still have a lot of trees here. And I know I've cut a lot of trees so far. We need quite a few more out of the way before I feel comfortable to stick a couple €1,000 into building a fence, without having the painstaking thing of sticking a tree through it. So this is still up in our ground zero. This is where the barbecue area is going to go, all over this stone house. We're going to renovate this stone house and turn it into a food cellar. It is going to involve taking it down and rebuilding it again, because where there has been trees growing in the back side, Luni aqui, you can see here that like the walls bowed in. Luni aqui. And so yeah, we've got to take all that down, straighten out the walls, build it back up and render the back, because I don't want no little rats coming through the this is an old stone wall, so currently probably little critters can crawl through it, and I want to render all the back of it so nothing can get through. So we've got piles of logs over here. This is what I was talking about, it needs to be brought up to here and stacked up accordingly. There's obviously piles of foliage everywhere. Luni, onde está stick da Luna? Vai. Isso. Vai, 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 vai. And so yeah, we're just, meow, here she comes. We're just having a bit of a clean up. Doing the fencing gets rid of loads of these fence piles. We've got fence piles everywhere around the land, and what we're going to do with them, we're going to take the skin off of them, take the bark off, we're going to put a point on them, we're going to char them. So we're going to burn the first sort of meter or so, and when we stick this in the ground, it would just help fight against the termites and the bugs that want to burrow into the wood. It's an old Japanese technique, so I've learnt. And then we've got a drum of oil. After we've burnt them and after we've put a point on them, we're going to stick them in a drum of oil, and that's burnt oil, so it's old oil out of engines. And we are going to let them soak in there for 24 hours, and then we're going to drive them into the ground. So yeah, a little bit of an update for you over here. Things are getting super clear. It's amazing. The sun's coming out a little bit. We've had a lot of rain recently, and even in the charring of the fence posts, we've got all these piles and piles of sticks and dry sticks and old logs, and we're going to be burning all of that and making up lots more space. And so up the top here of our ground zero, we're kind of reverting back to that. We got really stuck in down there where we're going to do the agroforestry project. So what we're planning to do is, and we've been to some tree nurseries lately, and we got lots of prices on trees, and told them quantities we want, and we've been looking at varieties of species that they have, and pretty much we're going to plant rows of trees all the way along the land, and we're going to step that down about a 5 to 7 meter gap between each tree lane, and then we're going to plant another one, and then we're going to give it another gap and plant another one, and another gap and plant another one, and we'll do that until we run out of land. I have worked it out how many tree lanes we'll get, and so we're going to plant a mixed species food forest along here. So there'll be a mixture of fruit and nut trees and hardwood and softwood trees, and we're going to create a bit of a forest, but in strategic rows. There's reasons behind this. As the water comes down the landscape, it hits this speed bump buffer of trees, and by keeping them in rows, it's easier for us to harvest. We can specifically pick what each row has in it, and so as we get to know the trees and the harvest seasons, and for harvesting, we will create like a tree guild, so each row will have the same pattern all the way along it, and so the harvesting will be easier. Maybe the next row down will be different, but it will be the same row, and so when we come to harvest time, it will all be apples there, or it will all be avocados, or it will all be chestnuts, etc., etc. And then in the gap between the trees, we will run animals. So we'll have place to run our sheep, run the chickens, the ducks. I'm toying with the idea of getting rabbits as well. And so this is something where we could grow grasses or hemp or any kind of lush vegetation which animals like to eat. It also provides more light come through in between each tree row, and it allows us good access in and out of the tree rows. And so we're getting really excited about this. Carolina's currently on a course, a grafting and taking cuttings and doing grafting. She's on a 3-day course, and so I'm here waffling on to you guys, just me and the doggo, and we're just wanting to give a bit of an update, because I don't do much walk and talk, and I don't really talk about much permaculture or what we're actually going to do here, and it's very exciting. And so yeah, the whole permaculture side of it is really, it's about us wanting to create a world for ourselves and for our future family where we can provide as much of our own needs and contribute towards a community around us. We have a local market to us. We have people who raise cows and slaughter cows right next to us. We're in a bit of a farmy area, but it dawned on me one day that you know, I'm a little bit of a yeah man, you know, and it dawned on me one day that if the grid goes down, if a war wages out, if for some reason the people that control my everyday moves in terms of where I get my food from, my water, when I lived in England, imagine if somebody turned off the gas, we'd have no heating in the winter, I'd have no gas coming out of my cooker to cook. Likewise, they control the water coming to me, they control everything. I go to work, I work hard, I pay taxes on the money that I have, no problem with that. It goes towards healthcare systems, it goes towards education systems that have granted me the privileges to travel around the world, to be able to learn the things that I've learned, and I'm very grateful for these systems. But it dawned on me that I'm like completely at the hands of other people. And it wasn't that long ago that humans knew how to fend for themselves, how to create energy, how to create heat, how to create food, where to get their water from. And it kind of occurred to me that, whew, man, if something happens, where do I stand in this? And so I kind of went on a bit of a journey about how can I learn as much as I possibly can to build my own house, to create my own food, to create my own energy. And it's taken a long time to learn the skills, it's taken a long time to harness all of the money to come and do this, but you know, we had to take the decision to do that, and here we are now actually doing it. One of the main drivers which I guess led me to this kind of lifestyle was health, you know, where we get our food from, at what detriment does it cost the earth, how is it harvested, is it a monoculture farm, how has the animal been treated, the welfare of both the worker, the human working on the farm, and the animal growing up on the farm. Where do the vegetables come from? Where do my bananas come from? Why can I have fruit all year round? Heated polytunnels, heated farms, you know, fish farms, large-scale agriculture and food production is incredibly destructive towards the planet and for my health, you know. You can't even get water out of the tap without it coming through a chemical plant and being treated with all sorts of stuff that's not necessarily great for our health. I understand, and I am very grateful and privileged to be amongst the few millions of people that have access to shop-bought food and water coming out of the tap. That I am very aware of. It's not the problem. I'm very grateful for that, and thankful that I've had access to that growing up and in my life. And everybody should have access to it. But why should the food that I buy from the store kill me? Why should it kill the planet? We can create regenerative systems, we can create closed loop systems, we can create animals that are on pasture, that are grass fed, that are good for our health, that create soil, that build life. We can do that. We don't need mass scale agriculture. Looney, Key, come. We don't need cows in barns being fed grains. We don't need chickens, millions of chickens in barns being fed grain. These animals could be out, they could be in systems that is beneficial for the planet through techniques like regenerative, holistic grazing. Looney, Key. Excuse me. Looney, come. Good girl. Let's go this way. If we use holistic grazing and rotational grazing in amongst agroforestry lanes, tree lanes, etc., get rid of these millions of acres of monoculture farming, and we replaced it with systems that stack on top of each other, we actually gain a lot more food production year round that's annual, seasonal, good for the animals, good for ourselves. These are systems that have been put in place by people before me, people like Alan Savory, Joel Salatin, Richard Perkins, some of my favourite people to look into that speak very, very well on the topics of holistic grazing, rotational grazing, regenerative agriculture. And this is one step towards creating healthy food systems that build soil. Soil is the life of this planet, and without it we can't grow food. And so we can build soil, we can pull carbon out of the atmosphere and pull it into the land, and it's going to benefit all living systems. We can retain water, we can build these systems, we have the knowledge to, and instead we send millions, billions of acres to one crop to grow grains, a very, very poor nutritional content of food. And it was this dive down the rabbit hole of health, both nutritionally and mentally, which kind of led me to where we was. I was in Australia with a bunch of friends, and we was diving into other systems. We were traveling and we wasn't happy with trading my whole life away to pay for a mortgage. And again, I'm very grateful and I'm very privileged that I come from a place where I can get a job, I can have a house, I can have security, I'm not in a war-torn country, I have access to food and water. I'm very aware of these things. But we're living in a world where a lot of people that come from the world I come from are not happy. Very, very unhappy. Very unhealthy. Very, very unhealthy. Both mentally, physically. Luni, come here please. Luniaki. And something needs to change, and if we look at the common denominator, it's our everyday lifestyles, our food that we're sticking inside ourselves. You know, something's got to give. And I started researching into this different world and into this different way of life, and this is what I discovered, permaculture. And yeah, some of it can be a bit iffy, but a load of it is really, 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 really good. And we can build houses more environmentally friendly and cheaper, so that you don't have to spend your whole life paying off a box. Imagine if I can pass that down onto my kids. Instead of spending the next 40 years of their life paying off a house, together we can build a house within 5 to 10 years through a much cheaper, a much more healthier style of housing, using traditional methods such as cob, adobe, timber framing. You know, building out of timber's got to be one of the most sustainable ways of building a house ever. Somebody planted these trees, a bird, a human, it's grown up, I'm going to cut it down, use it to build my house. By the time my house needs knocking down, these trees will be just as big, if not bigger again. Renewable, sustainable, creating habitat, pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and storing it into the ground. These are the kind of houses we need to be building. And we can offer that. We've got the education, we've got the knowledge there, with things like YouTube and all of the ways that people can access information. We've got flights all around the world so people can go and do courses wherever and whenever they want. This is what drove me into finding an alternative lifestyle. I can either work for myself, setting up this system for, you know, it took me 8 years to get here. Maybe in another 10 years time I will be somewhat with a fully productive system, a house for myself, and my day becomes about processing food, caring for the animals, harvesting whatever needs to be harvested, playing with my children, enjoying my life. I believe that if I can put a bit of hard work into my own life, I can create a better life for me and for my family. And we can grow our own produce, I can sell good produce to those around me, I can build my house, and all of this in a time scale of half of a mortgage. You know, we're going to be debt free. I'm not having to get up and go and work for somebody else. I can come down to my orchard, my agroforestry, I can tend to my own animals. I'm looking after my health. I'm staying active every single day. I'm eating the best food I could possibly get. And that is what was really important to me. I wanted to remove myself from a system that relies on everything. I envision, I can see it. We've got this far. My life, I'm going to be over here in my barbecue area, processing all the foods as the sun's setting down behind the mountains. We're going to be looking after all of the animals, processing all of the nuts and fruits that come out of the system, processing all the animals, storing food for the winter, building my firewood surplus so that I've got energy and cooking materials with for all year round. This is my life, and it's very, very achievable. And that was the journey where we set out to. That was the goal. And it kind of is slowly coming back full circle, because we had to learn a lot of things along the way to get to the point of food production. And we are slowly coming back to food production. You know, obviously we have no food planted, but we're not far away. And we will get there, and we will achieve what we set out to achieve nearly 10 years ago on this journey, which has taken us in all manner of directions. And yeah, we're slowly getting there. And yeah, that's a little bit of waffle about what brought us here, what brought me here on this journey of learning and growth. And I can't wait to be showing videos of production of all my food and all my animals. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much for following. And if you ever want to dive into this world, or have any questions, or want to know more about how you can get started, let us know.